Let's talk about putting more whole grain in your diet. In this edition of WJTS in.form, I'm Bill Potter. Thanks for joining us. Joining us is Extension Educator Jan Dougan, who is going to talk about whole grains and adding them to your diet. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
Let's start off with, what is a grain?
Well, a lot of people have that question, and you know what? I brought my plate, the USDA My Plate, and what we're supposed to be putting on my plate. So grains is a fourth of our plate, and what we should be putting on there. And fortunately, I get to go into all our elementary schools and talk to all the first graders about making healthy food choices and grains and what they are. And when we think about grains in the United States, most of the grain foods that we eat come from corn, wheat, oats, and rice.
Okay, let me ask you something about corn. You say corn. I can buy corn in a can.
Right.
Is that a vegetable or a grain?
That is a vegetable. When you eat corn in the can, you are eating a vegetable. But when they take the corn and they process it and they grind it and they make corn flour, and then from the corn flour they might make corn chips or corn tortillas, then you're eating a grain food.
Okay, all right.
Right.
So rice,
wheat,
oats, barley, wheat.
Yeah. Rye. That's another one.
Yeah. Okay.
But the four that most of Americans eat grain foods from are wheat, rice, oats, and rice. Well, I said rice, didn't I? Wheat, oats, rice,
and
corn.
Okay, now what is a whole grain as opposed to a grain?
Okay, yeah. So when we eat grain foods, some of them are whole grains and some of them are not. But a whole grain means that they use the whole kernel of the grain. They ground up the whole thing. So the outside, the inside, all the parts of the grain were ground up to make the grain, to make the product, to make the flour that we make the product from. So then it's a whole grain. And we can find out whether the products we're using are whole grains or not by reading that nutrition label that's on each package. So if we go to the grocery store, and I brought my grocery sack with some products in, we can look at this product and we say, well, it says up here it's 100% whole grain wheat. So that's a clue that, yeah, it probably is whole grain wheat. But to really know, when we look at the ingredient list on the nutrition label, the ingredient list should list whole grain, and this one says soft white winter wheat. It has to say whole grain wheat or whole grain rice or whole grain corn, and then we know that it's a whole grain product.
Okay, now rice that you buy, that white rice, is that whole grain?
The white rice is a grain, but if you buy the brown rice, which I believe I have a box of brown rice in here, the brown rice is a whole grain. It's 100% whole grain. This is another way you can find out whether you're getting a whole grain product in the grocery store or not. Look for this whole grain label that companies can use on their products. So brown rice would be a whole grain product. White rice would be a grain. And you know, we need both. We need both. And the recommendation from USDA is to make half your whole grains whole. Half your grains whole. So, you know, we just need to choose a few. We don't need to go all out, because I know that's a frustration with a lot of people. They're like, man, I have to eat all these whole grains. No, you just have to make a few more choices that are whole grains to have a healthier diet.
And that's something that is more available than it used to be.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And, you know, the companies are making products more available. They're more available to us locally. Recently, in our local grocery stores, I was able to purchase some oatmeal pancake mix. And my husband and I tried these last weekend. They were excellent pancakes, and they are made with whole grains. So they're made with whole oats.
And when you eat oatmeal in the morning, if you're just eating oatmeal, is that whole grain?
Yeah, that's a whole grain.
Just smashed up, and it just rolled oats, I guess.
Yeah, but that's a whole grain for you. And then, you know, when we go down the aisle and we look at the pastas, if we want a whole grain pasta, we need to pick one that's got whole wheat. So we look at the label again, and it says whole wheat on it. So we know that that's a whole grain also. You know, and the complaint that I'm hearing from a lot of individuals when we do community programs is that, oh, I don't like the looks of that brown pasta, you know? So what is interesting though is usually when you cook the brown pasta, it really lightens in color. It's not this dark brown after it's been boiled, you know, and cooked. But if you're not really happy with the texture or the taste or the flavor, what we encourage people to do is maybe use half and half. Buy a box of the white pasta and buy a box of the whole wheat pasta, and then mix them in your cooking half and half, and then you'll get the flavor of both, and maybe that won't be as different a flavor for you to first start out on.
And whole grain doesn't take any different cooking method.
No, it doesn't take any different cooking method. No, it doesn't. So that's another product. Let's see. Oh, what about your cereal in the morning? So this is just one of the cereals that I had at home that I could bring with me, that I looked at the label and I'm saying, yep, this says this is whole wheat. This is a bran cereal. So that's a bran grain that we use. So, you know, there's lots of different choices that we have. And you could have your cereal in the morning, you pick that a whole grain. Your snack in the afternoon, you have a whole wheat cracker with your cheese. And if at dinner at night you have whole wheat pasta, then you've mixed it up a little bit and you've gotten some more whole grains in your daily diet.
So there are a lot of products that are whole grain.
Yeah.
Well, I see one here that says multigrain.
Yes, yes. So we need to talk about that. So this particular product says multigrain, and a lot of times we see on packages where it says multigrain, and we wonder, well, is that a whole grain? Well, again, you really need to look at the ingredient list to know, because here it says whole wheat flour. So yes, this is a whole grain. The word whole, W-H-O-L-E, needs to be by the grain name on the ingredient list for it to be a whole grain. We have a lot of different terms that companies use to indicate that maybe something's healthier for us, or it's something that they know we're looking for, but this is not the word that we need to be looking for. The words that we need to be looking for are under the ingredient list, so that we know that we're really buying a whole grain product. It's just like buying brown bread. You can buy brown bread, but it's not necessarily a whole grain bread.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Bread is probably where my mind always goes when it comes to, because there was always been whole wheat. I think even years ago, Roman meal was one of the first.
Sure.
I believe. So, and there you'll notice a difference. I mean, they'll say it.
Right. Right, but look on that ingredient list when you're looking at the different breads that are available. It'll say multi-grain or made with many grains, or, you know, there's a lot of different terms that they use, but you want to look at the ingredient list and see if the word whole is there, and if the name of the grain is there, then you know that you're really getting a whole grain product.
And why is whole grain so much better than grain?
Whole grains are just our healthier choice for us. They offer more fiber for us, more nutritional value for us, and so it's just it's a better choice for us to have.
And that really, I think that's probably one of the key things is fiber. It provides fiber.
There's a lot of yes, we do get more fiber from whole grains. There are other foods that provide fiber for us. Fruits and vegetables provide fiber for us. There's other good sources of fiber that are available. But when we tend to eat a lot of grains in the American diet, so we just want to try to encourage everyone when they're choosing grain foods to make at least half of them whole grain choices.
Is there more nutrition in them because they're using more parts?
They're using the whole part of the grain, so there's more nutritional value there.
Okay. Well, Jan, anything else you'd like to add about whole grain?
I just would like to encourage everyone to think about their grain choices. And, you know, there might be some other products out there that you want to try that are new to you. It's a great opportunity to just, try something new and see if you like it or not. But be sure to start reading those nutritional labels and look for the whole grain word in the ingredient list so that you know that you're getting a whole grain product.
Jan, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, Bill.
We hope you're going to start living a healthier lifestyle by watching these shows on WJTS. Remember, when you go shopping, look for whole grains. You don't have to eat everything whole grain, but you should have a certain mix, a certain percentage of that in your diet. And as Jan mentioned, on the ingredient list, look for the word whole, W-H-O-L-E. Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. Thanks to our guest, Jan Dougan, the Extension Educator for Du Bois County through Purdue Extension. Thank you for watching. We are local people watching local people.